This audio file was extracted from a corrupted server seized during a federal raid in Arlington, Virginia. The server belonged to Dr. Anya Sharma, a former historian and consultant for the Department of Defense who was publicly disgraced for falsifying research. She vanished from her apartment 3 years ago. The official report says she fled the country. But this single, encrypted audio file was found hidden in the server's root directory, protected by a dead man's switch set to release if she didn't access it for 72 hours. What you're about to hear is that file. It suggests Dr. Sharma wasn't a fraud. It suggests she found something they would kill to keep hidden. This is Dr. Anya Sharma. Log date. God, I don't even know. It's the 10th night I've been locked in here. If you are hearing this, it means my failsafe worked. It means they got me. Don't trust the official story. They didn't discredit me. They tried to silence me. It all started with an anonymous email. No subject, no body, just a single attachment. A file named Damascus_protocol.gpg. I almost deleted it. I should have deleted it. But my curiosity, it's always been my downfall. I've spent my career staring into the abyss of history's lies. And this time, the abyss stared back. I got the file decrypted. It wasn't a modern intelligence document. It was a collection of scanned high-resolution fragments of scrolls. They looked like pieces of the Dead Sea Scrolls, but different. The notes attached claimed they were part of a suppressed cache, discovered decades ago but deemed too problematic for public release. They told a different story. Not about messiahs or Essene piety. They told the story of a king, King David. And it wasn't a story of a shepherd boy chosen by God. For real, it was the story of a crime boss. Text didn't call him a hero. They called him the Rosh Hashanah, the chief of the Red Ones. It wasn't a noble title. The Adamim, according to this, were a ruthless band of mercenaries, debt collectors, and assassins operating in the Judean hills. They were known for the red clay that stained their clothes and for the blood they spilled. David wasn't some righteous outlaw. He was their leader. A cunning, charismatic, and utterly brutal warlord. The story of David and Goliath? A complete fabrication, a piece of ancient propaganda. These fragments described it differently. Goliath wasn't just a giant. He was a key Philistine general, a linchpin in their military command. His death wasn't a duel, it was a hit. A precision strike. The text used a term, Eben Kella, which we've always translated as slingshot. But here, the context suggested something else entirely, a small concealable projectile weapon. David didn't challenge him in the open. He got close under the guise of being a simple messenger boy and assassinated him. It was a professional job, designed to throw the Philistine army into chaos. The fragments even imply he was paid to do it by factions within King Saul's own court, who wanted to see their king undermined. This was his pattern. Every heroic story was a sanitized version of a brutal power play. His time in the wilderness wasn't about hiding from a jealous Saul. It was about building his network, running protection rackets, and eliminating rivals. He wasn't a fugitive. He was a mob boss consolidating his territory. He offered protection to local villages, and if they refused, his Adamim would make them regret it. The Bible mentions Nabal, the wealthy man who insulted David and then conveniently died. The Bible says God struck him down. These texts say he was poisoned of his own wife, Abigail, who immediately offered herself and her fortune to David to save her people. It wasn't a romance. It was a hostile takeover. I sat there, the glow of the screen lighting up my dark apartment, and I felt sick. This wasn't just revisionist history. It was the unmasking of a monster we've been taught to worship for 3,000 years. And I was only on the first folder. The deeper I went into the Damascus Protocol, the darker it got. It was all there, laid out in cold, transactional language. The epic battles were described as turf wars. The political alliances were gang affiliations. And the most sacred object in his story, the Ark of the Covenant, was his greatest weapon of terror. I always thought it was weird how people just dropped dead for touching it, or looking at it incorrectly. Divine retribution, they said. But the fragments painted a different picture. David's inner circle, his most trusted adamim, were also experts in poisons and alchemy. They coated the Ark with neurotoxins derived from desert fungi and snake venom. They created a perimeter of fear. Anyone who questioned David's divine right, anyone who got too close, would suffer a seemingly mystical death. It was the perfect tool, an object of supposed holiness that doubled as a chemical weapon. It cemented his power not through faith, but through raw, unexplainable fear. Then I got to the section on Bathsheba. It was the file that really freaked me out. It wasn't a story of lust and regret. It was a political assassination, plain and simple. Uriah the Hittite wasn't just some random soldier. The text identified him as a member of a powerful, non-Israelite clan with deep roots in Jerusalem, a city David desperately needed to control to legitimize his kingdom. Uriah had a claim to that land, possibly even a rival claim to leadership. David didn't just want his wife. He wanted his territory, his influence, his entire legacy erased. Getting Bathsheba pregnant was the first move. It created a blood tie. Having Uriah killed on the battlefield was the second. But the fragments describe a third, more horrifying detail. After Uriah was gone, David's adamim quietly eliminated every single member of Uriah's extended family. His uncles, his cousins, his brothers. It was a systematic cleansing of a rival bloodline. The prophet Nathan's parable wasn't a condemnation of adultery. It was a coded warning from Saul's old guard that they knew David was a butcher. Final decrypted file wasn't a story, it was a list. A kill list. Dozens of names, each with a date and a cause of death. Crushed by a falling rock, a viper's bite in his sleep, lost in the desert. These were all the political rivals, the dissenting priests, the loyalists of Saul's house who mysteriously disappeared during David's rise. He didn't build a kingdom. He built a throne on a mountain of corpses. As the last name decrypted, my screen flashed with a final line from the original scribe. A message from beyond the grave. The Blood King has built his house on bones. Beware the shadow of his sword, for it is long and it is patient. That's when my lights went out. The whole block is dark, but it's not a power outage. I can hear something. A quiet, metallic click at my front door. They found me. The people who buried this are still here. They're still protecting the lie. I'm uploading this now. If you're hearing this, don't let them tell you I was a fraud. Ask the questions. If they lied about him, who else did they lie about? How many of our heroes are just criminals whose stories were written by their own assassins? Share this. Dig deeper.